Boom. Another morning. Um, so, still waking up, still groggy as hell. What I need to do right now, where I'm at, is I need the book 2 outline. I need to open that up. And then I'll be taking what I had originally written for my original intro for chapter 5. Scroll down, I got all my character statements and descriptions and chapter 5, which is after Emergent chapter 2. So we're calling this chapter 5 for now. When all is said and done, it's probably 13, 14, something like that. It's so hard to keep track. The edit is going to be fun when I figure out where all my proper chapter breaks are going to be. It's just keeping the naming conventions that I have right now so I can keep things organized. But chapter 1 was a chapter 1. Chapter 1 was no problem. Chapter 1 seduced me into thinking I knew what the hell I was doing. And then chapter 2 is always where you figure out what it is that you're actually writing. Chapter 2 is where your actual story emerges. Chapter 1 is a lie. It's a sweet seduction. It's a setup. Chapter 2 is easily 4 chapters. Maybe 3. I don't know. In chapter 3, I went in, a little more savvy as to what was going on, and that became 2 chapters, and then that demanded another chapter after it that I hadn't planned on, and then 3 and a half, and then 4. 4 was 4. I always knew what 4 was, but I had to leave a part out of 4 that then became the last chapter that I just wrote, that I finished up yesterday, which was surprisingly short. I think I'll be okay with that, though. And then now I'm in 5. So yeah, this is like 11. But we're calling it 5. Because, what are numbers? They're just symbols, right? So yeah, let's close out that original document. So now I have the outline for my outline, and let's see, yeah, I pasted that in. Okay, yeah, still waking up, still on my first cup of coffee. But this is supposed to be the best time to spiel and to write and to dump things onto the page because my brain is all dewy and soft still. Let's go ahead and minimize OBS. So I'm not looking at that, and now, boom, there's Twitch. So if people want to interrupt it and bother me while I'm working, you can. All right. Later than I wanted. Did not sleep well last night at all. Stressing for some reason. I haven't had a stress sleep like that in quite a long time. I think part of it is because I broke a damn tooth last night, eating ribs, and had a little chip that came out of one of my teeth, so I got to get a hold of the dentist today and figure out if I'm going to lose the whole tooth before they can do a fill or something like that. So, yeah. That'll be fun. Should be a good day. Alright, so chapter 5. This outline is very sparse. Like I said, this is something that I wrote just to get the book started, going. And I feel like this is going to be 2 chapters. So, King Gregarious visibly falters in public. Court fractures into whispering camps. The physician is called in, and though he is baffled and claims it is magic, he still scrambles to find a remedy. The king becomes bedridden, and Lord Halbrecht and Sister Kayleen separately point the finger at Arista, citing her contemptuous behavior and mysterious magical effects. Arista scoffs at their accusations, and Garrett removes her from the hall before she escalates things. So, right there, I've got a little bit of an issue where I state that the king becomes bedridden, and then Garrett removes Arista from the hall. So, that in and of itself doesn't work. Like, the king can't actually be taken to the bed chamber, to his bed, just yet, if Arista is still there, or they have to be having that conversation in the bed chamber. Because remember, this was supposed to be a romance series, but for some reason my brain decided to make the second book a mystery and a whodunit. So who's poisoning the king? King isn't dead yet, but it's pretty apparent something's going on, and everybody's blaming this mysterious, crazy woman from the ocean, Arista. Jocelyn starts to show signs of a curse or some kind of magical malady, thinking a rash or hives that cause her to scratch incessantly and her skin to blister. So that's the consequence of what happened in the previous chapter. Okay. So I need to redo this outline. And that's typically what I do. I take these bare bones, like minimalist little, just chunky outlines that I have from my original book layout. And before I actually write the chapter, I try to write out everything that's going to go down in the chapter. When writing a book, I like to know what my last sentence is. What's my final beat? Where does the story end? Where does it begin? And then figure out how I get from there in the middle. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's do this. This is what I did with the last one. I didn't hate it. I'm constantly evolving my practice. Intro, climax, outro. All right. Hi, what do you want? What is it, baby? You making a face? Seriously, I just started. We already went out. You just gave me a dumb look, like you didn't need anything. What's up? You hungry? Is it 7 a.m. already? Can you give me at least 3 minutes just for my own self-respect? What do you need? Are you hungry, or do you need to go outside again? Do you need to go potty? Do you need food? Do you need to go outside? Just the look that she's giving me, and she's not clear. I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you need to go outside? Do you need to go potty? She just leans in. No? You need your pill? Like it says in my bio, folks, animal interruptions are part of the program. Okay, what are we doing? Yeah, food? Is it food? Am I guessing right? You're giving me nothing to go with, Lou. Okay, all right. Yep, food. You're leading me toward the bowl. Food. Hey, Mom. Yeah, I'll get you squared away too. It's just the dog is insisting. There you go. Food for Lou. Alright, so there's your seizure medicine. I'll say this is for you wetter. And there's your antibiotic. Alright, Mo, let's get you squared away too, baby. Yeah, Mo, I'm doing it. We're doing it, Mo. All right, bud. Here you go. All right. And, I already finished this. This one should be good. Can I? Okay, I can write now. I can write. Just eat your food, Lou. All right. Back to it. Let's see. Intro, climax. Oh, yeah, that's what I got so far. Okay, and then yesterday I had an idea. Yes. No. No? Yes. Okay. Totally organized. Oh, yeah, things that I want over the next year. No, that's a list of goals. Okay. Well, what the hell? Great. So, I thought. Awesome. Here, look at my organization skills here. Great. Okay, now I gotta use the brain fruit in order to remember what the hell I was thinking. So, yeah. Do I want to start with bullet points or do I want to start with just a brain dump? There it is, the other keyboard. The one that doesn't have the weird problems or missing keys. Okay, so my lap is a horrible place to type, but it still lets me recline a little bit and not mess up my back. So King Gregarious visibly falters in public. That's the first note that I have. I got to start prior to that. So I think this chapter is going to start with a little bit of exposition, where we're in a new time, new place than we were in the last chapter, and we have to explain to the reader how we got there. And we got to do that, of course, through Garrett. Intro. Come on, brain. Let's work with me. It's already 7. I don't remember where anything is right now. Line numbers, hyphenations, breaks. I'm trying to remember where bullet points are. There we go. Just in home. That's so boring. Boom. Okay. Intro. King Gregarious is back on his throne because he insisted he was fine. It is the following morning, which I've got a nasty habit. When I get into a block of time with characters, I will show every moment. Like I did that in my first book, where once you get introduced to Jillian in the story, I follow every single moment. I don't do any time lapses. So I don't know. I feel like I need to report as to what transpired in the time between where we last left the last chapter and where this one is. I don't know why I feel compelled to do that, but I feel like that's a dump. Like there has to be some kind of information about that. So I'm writing a chapter that where we have to have catch up. And I would rather do any sort of exposition not through narration, but through characters. And is it morning, or is it more like noon? I feel like this would be more like a noontime thing. Yeah, this is me being way too picky. I feel like if I want this to start with a punch, then the chapter starts with Garrett making an explanation. Garrett is explaining a situation that just occurred. While Arista was away at the shoreline to replenish her power, called in a servant to their chamber to shave them. Be a nice surprise for Arista, since she had never seen him properly shaved. Because he's been on the island. since on the island he was forced to use a knife to keep his fear at bay. She returned during the process, and upon seeing a stranger with a blade, damn it, to Garrett's throat, went on the attack. So originally I was thinking Arista would like grab the guy and like one hand lift him up on the wall or something like that. But I'm thinking it'd be funnier if she maybe attacks him, he drops the blade, goes running out of there, and she picks it up and chases after him. And then there's a temptation, like, do I name this servant? Like, and which would bring my cast up to a full 25, because I haven't thought to name any of the other maids or butlers or anyone else other than Miri. I really worry about character bloat. But then not including enough character descriptions would make things kind of bland, a little glib. Okay. No. Darius laughs so hard he nearly falls off his throne. And right there, for the sake of punch, like as he's laughing, that's when I can have him suddenly fall, visibly falter in public. Like the laughter is too much for him. And then this would also set it up where indirectly Arista is again responsible for Gregarious faltering. Because it happened once before while he was telling her a story. Because Gregarious loves to tell stories. Zol begins to lecture about proper etiquette. Improper behavior. Admonishes Miri for not keeping her lady informed and calm. I think right there is a good setup because it's, what do we have? We got Gregarious' stubbornness and refusal to leave the throne, which is already a theme that we have in this character's life. Like, he's too old to be king, but he refuses to give it up. I worry a little bit about this time lapse. No, that's not what I want. Try to think of filler to explain previous day. Perhaps What? Did I really spell stubble wrong? That can't be wrong. Perhaps rude to her claiming Garrett for most of the afternoon, ensuring that the servants heard them. Something along that lines. Like, I want Arista to do something that's possessively claiming of Garrett and, like, kind of imply that something occurred. And what's going on with stubble? How is that not how you spell stubble? 2 B's. Okay. It's amazing. Stubble has 2 B's, but beard only has 1. That's alright. That morning. So, yeah, all of this is in this first sentence that I have in my outline. King Gregarious visibly falters in public. convert fractures into whispering camps. Oh, who's in the hall at this time? The king, the queen, ladies old, Albrecht. Albrecht, I keep getting his name confused. He hasn't had enough dialogue at this point. Grab some fresh coffee. Ugh. Quick distraction. Okay. So I made a whole $276 on my book yesterday because somebody bought an ebook, apparently. So I just wanted to, I don't know, check the royalties, see how much I was actually making from selling an ebook. So I've sold one physical copy this month. One person's read it on Kindle Unlimited, and that's not bad. That's not bad. I've sold my book 3 times. And the fact that somebody read it on Kindle Unlimited and actually finished it, that makes me feel really good. That makes me feel really good. But yeah, just confirming my royalty sources. 100% of that is in the United States. But yeah, 42% of my earnings are from selling a paperback, 42% from selling an ebook, which means I make the exact same pretty much regardless of whether I sell paperback or ebook, which is a pretty nice setup. I think I did my pricing well on that. I hope I repeat that on the next one, so there's no difference. Although, honestly, I feel better selling physical copies of the book than I do selling ebooks. And then 16% from Kindle Unlimited, and I'm really thinking about pulling it off Kindle Unlimited, even though I specifically wrote the genre, the content, the descriptions the way I did for Kindle Unlimited. But we'll see. Sorry, it's a little bit of... So I feel good. My best day I sold 2 units. Pretty sure that was to my mom, but Yeah, January 30th, 5. Who? Okay, so I make 276 from the ebook, 277 from the paperback. And I make half a penny for every page that gets read on Kindle Unlimited. So I make about 20 cents from Kindle Unlimited. People are actually buying physical copies of my book or buying the ebook. That's awesome. Okay, yeah, enough patting myself on the back. Oh, okay, one more. Okay, I earned that. All right, good stretch too. Good stretch. The reports again. Nothing today so far, but day is still young. Keep working. Mo, what are you doing, Mo? Yeah, hey, Happy. I just saw you on Chorna's stream. How you doing? Pretty good. Starting to wake up a little bit. I just had to check my Kindle report and make sure I actually did sell a copy yesterday. This marketing sucks. All right. So, writing an outline. King Gregorius very visibly falters. And right now I'm trying to figure out who's in the court. Trying to get a mental image of who's actually at court at the moment, because in my initial notes, court fractures into whispering camps. Well, who are these whispering camps? That's what I'm trying to decipher right now. And this is the climax. Gregarious visibly falters. Say those gathered. Instantly begin. Awesome. How many you got planned total? Those gathered instantly begin whispering amongst themselves. Paraval is sent for. Which then again, wouldn't I want, I don't know, where would Paraval be right now? Paraval is the court physician. He's either running diagnostic tests in his lab with his collection of gathered fluids, or watching over the king. But I got Halbrecht, the queen, and Isolde. The king is very watched over right now. Until the plot ends. I've done that before. I have a hard time finding a good, solid end. I found with my last couple of books, the one that I just published and this one, knowing exactly where it's going, like trying to figure out precisely what the last line, the last beat, I mean, even like knowing your exact last sentence where you want it to land, helps for me personally. Otherwise, I tend to ramble, and it never really feels like it stops. So like with this one, I wrote out the entire outline, wrote out my entire character list, and sorry, I still got brain fog. Oh, and wrote out the plot line for each individual character, so I knew exactly like who they were in the beginning of the story, what trials are they going to have to deal with throughout the story, and how do they end up at the end of the book, so that every single character is a moving part, a spinning gear in the system, not just a static fixture. Mojo, knock it off, dude. Hey, welcome, Chorna. Parabol is sent for. Yeah, I saw a little blip about that with Levi and the wolf. Awesome. Give me 1 second. I gotta see if I can get my bunny to chill out. He's having an attitude. Sorry, animal interruptions are a part of my stream. Mojo, dude, why? Here, tell you what. I will offer you some fresh hay, and while we're at it, a biscuit? Can you take a biscuit? Yes, you will. Hello, round boy. Here you go. I'm going to give you half now. And I'm going to put the other half in your snuffle rug. Yeah, so you got to look for it. Move it around. Yes, good boy. I mean, technically you're not a good boy. You're a rabbit. All right. Oh, hey, Ashley, how you doing? That's nice of you, Chorna. Slack? I don't know about Slack. I don't think I'm the guy you heard of that from. Substack is something I've been messing around in. Is that another term for it? Parabol is sent for. Well, now I'll have to check it out. Great. In Whispering Camps, the physician is called in, and though he is baffled and claims it is magic, he still scrambles to find a remedy. So, this is one of those things where, like, I had my original outline that I quickly, like, jotted down, and this story is, it's kind of getting away from me. Like, my characters don't really obey what I had initially had plotted out, but that's an indication that they are alive, they got their own personalities, but the physician is called in. Like, would he actually get there that fast? I don't think Parabol would be that quick to show up. Like, I think they have ample time to take the king out of the court and return him to his bed chamber before Parabol could pull himself away from whatever he was working on. That's not a ghost, that's my cat. And Parabol is, yeah. The king becomes bedridden, and Lord Hallbreck and Sister Kaleen separately point the finger at Arista. So I'm thinking this outline that I have is actually supposed to be 2 chapters, and so I'm trying to figure out where that division is. And how do I organize this better? So what I have so far is King Gregarious is back on his throne because he insisted he was fine. It is noon the next day. After the previous chapter, trying to think of filler to explain the previous day, perhaps include a comment by Arista about Garrett's stubble, perhaps allude to her claiming Garrett for most of the afternoon, ensuring that the servants heard them just so that word would get back to Jocelyn. Garrett is explaining a situation that just occurred that morning. While Arista was away at the shoreline to replenish her power, Garrett called in a servant to the chamber to shave him. He thought it would be a nice surprise for Arista, since she had never seen him properly shaved, since on the island he was forced to use, why does it say a knife, to keep his beard at bay. She returned during the process, and upon seeing a stranger with a blade to Garrett's throat, went on the attack. The servant dropped the blade and ran. Arista picked it up and ran after him, and Garrett, half-shaved and half-covered in foam, chased after her. That is how they came to be standing before the king and queen, with Garrett in his nightgown, half-shaved and dripping with shaving cream. Gregarious laughs so hard he nearly falls off his throne. Isolde begins to lecture about proper etiquette and Arista's improper behavior, admonishes Miri for not keeping her lady informed and calm. And that is when King Gregarious visibly falters. Those gathered instantly begin whispering among themselves, and Paraval is sent for. That's what I got so far. Ooh. Okay, so let's see. Before Paraval arrives, Isolde. Do I want to put Belain in the court? Like, I'm trying to think which characters are going to be in the court at this time. I could see Belain being there for a couple of reasons. Belain and Giselle. Belain is Giselle's daughter. Giselle is married to Garth. Garth is the crown prince, the one next in line for the throne. Isolde is like the mistress of etiquette and the lady in waiting. She's the queen's left hand. Isolde, Albrecht or Halbrecht, I'm not sure yet if his name's going to start with an A or an H. But I could put Belain there. Belain's needed, I think. Or maybe just Giselle. I feel like at least one of them would be there, if not both of them, just for the gossip. Queen Gwendolyn. Before Paraval arrives, Isolde, Albrecht, Queen Gwendolyn, maybe Belain, Giselle, and Gregarious too. as Arista approaches with Garrett. As Arista approaches with Garrett, since this is her fault. His condition in the first place, the murmuring all around grows more intense. Again, physically stuck between his family and Arista. Physically. That's a great way to spell it. Damn you, fat fingertips. Garrett is again physically stuck between his family and Arista. Boom. And that gives me enough of a space, temporally speaking, for Percival to enter the hall. Hey, it rhymes. With Sister Kayleen. Is Sister Kayleen there? I kind of want Sister Kayleen there, but then when does she work? If she's always hanging out at the castle. But if she happens to be at the castle and she hears that the king has faltered again, she's of course going to come check on him. They're close friends since forever. Sister Kayleen is like my Frieren character in this story. She looks young, but she's older than the king is. The king becomes bedridden, and that's the part where I feel like that's a little bit of a temporal skip from this chapter. Like the king being bedridden. So I'm trying to figure out how to split this. And this would be a great point. See, it's juggling all these characters. That's such a pain in the ass. So I've got... Ugh. So Isolde Albrecht. Albrecht hasn't said shit so far. Like, what do we have for Albrecht in the story? He mentions the treasure that Arista brought with her that she's using as a dowry to marry Garrett, which is a complete reversal. Typically, it would be the groom's family paying the dowry. But Arista doesn't care about that. She doesn't care about gold either. And then I have Albrecht mentioned in Miri's gossiping about the events that are going on in the castle since Arista showed up. And just saying that he's been researching, like trying to find a kingdom that lost a princess so he can try and figure out where Arista is actually from. But he's having a hard time because it turns out a lot of princesses go missing because this is a whole magical world thing. So that's just a common plot point. Kind of a joke I'm making about that. And then, so Albrecht needs to say something. He needs to get in some dialogue. And this would be a great place for him to accuse. And makes is this where he does it? Makes his accusation to Arista about her uncertain origins, because I haven't even bothered to come up with a name for Arista's kingdom. That's how like in the dark we are on that. Let's see, what time is it? 7:56. Okay. Yeah, I have the king becomes bedridden, and Lord Halbrecht and Sister Kaelin separately point the finger at Arista, citing her contemptuous behavior and mysterious magical effects. Is this right? Sites? I don't think that's right. Say mentions. Let's see, have we heard? Yes, we have. We've had a whole inquisition from Sister Kaelin. Okay. Okay. So I haven't lost the plot. I'm still coming along. I'm just spinning a lot of plates right now. All these characters, and they're pretty big personalities. I think the most boring person in the room right now is Albrecht. Sister Kayleen mentions Arista's contemptuous behavior. Of becoming queen. And at this point, after like 3 people have accused her, Arista should start to get riled up. Arista begins to get angry. The sky darkens outside. Points it out and mentions the strange weather that they have been having since Arista arrived. Garrett escorts her out before the situation and the weather worsen. And then I like, it feels like I got my outro, but now it feels like this is another scene where like it should be Garrett and Arista talking about what just happened. Like, I can't just go straight to the king's bedchamber and his worsening condition, unless I do another little like time skip, and it's just Garrett, and he left Arista in the bedroom, and he's going in to check on his father by himself. But do I need that scene? What happens? Because here, this is closing a door. This is a hinge moment. This is something that starts cute and funny and then ends kind of ominous, and then we see the court turning against Arista. So that's good. Like, this so far feels solid. Solid. Let's call it that. Let's call it solid. But the next scene, we kind of have Chekhov's gun type situation going with the previous chapter, because it's all about Arista finding out that Jocelyn was attempting to seduce Garrett, and then we have to show the effects of Arista cursing Jocelyn, which we haven't seen yet, not in this chapter. Jocelyn has not been introduced here. But then why would Jocelyn be in the royal court? Galen wouldn't be in the royal court unless he had like something he wanted to show his mother. So why would his wife be there? She's not into political stuff. She's into romance stuff. She'd be in the garden or taking care of herself in the bedchamber. Okay. So boom. That's the boom. Chapter 5.5. Jocelyn starts to show signs of a curse or some kind of magical malady, thinking a rash or hives that cause her to scratch incessantly and her skin to blister like a sunburn without the sun, constantly feeling like she has sand in her clothes. Belaine lavishes attention on her grandfather while talking up her brother to him while also speaking for Gregarious too. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, that works. That totally works. And then I still got to sit down and plot out Chapter 5.5 and work out the finer details of that, but I would rather write the draft for Chapter 5 now. And then, yeah, so right now I'm at the point where I got to let everything sort of percolate and settle in my mind. But it is 8 a.m. This is typically when I call my wife and touch base for the morning, because it's hard to start my day without talking to my wife. It's hard to end my day without talking to my wife. And I didn't get a hold of her last night, so do a quick Control-C. Because I do work with ChatGPT. I haven't accessed it yet this morning. I didn't really feel like I need it. I've been doing a lot with ChatGPT to have it teach me how to write. I do not let it write for me, but every once in a while it does come out with a line that's a freaking banger. But I like to think it's only because I've been using it for so long. It knows what I'm into and what I like to include. So, Chapter 5. Of course not. Okay, let's see. This is a very solid chapter spine. What you're really asking for here is how to turn this outline into a chapter 5 that feels inevitable, coherent, and tonally balanced. Comic, farce on the surface, political danger underneath. I'll do 3 things. Give you a clean thematic through line for chapter 5, suggest specific filler beats that feel organic, not padding. Draft a short sample intro scene you can drop in or adapt. Thematic through line. Chapter 4.5 ends with whatever happens next is entirely up to her. Chapter 5 should quietly answer, no, it never is. The illusion of innocence, propriety, and normalcy collapses. The comedic shaving incident is not random, it reinforces Arista's possessiveness, her violence being reasonable to her, how little room Garrett has to mediate between worlds. The court scene escalates from laughter, murmuring, accusation, threat. Arista shifts from charming foreign bride to dangerous, destabilizing force. This chapter is about public perception hardening. Filler that does actually That actually does work, not padding. The previous day filler, keep it suggestive, not explicit. Of course, you got to be suggestive and not explicit if you want to publish things on Kindle. So, like, the first book that I wrote, naughty. So naughty. Like, what those two get up to, shame on them. They're not even married yet. But it's all poetic. Like, I can't have any vulgarity in it, but I do use several phrases that Amazon automatically flags as being inappropriate. So, like, manhood. You can't use manhood without getting flagged. Which is ridiculous. And just the fact that my cover keeps getting flagged by AI, which stops me from doing promotions, which makes marketing damn near impossible. So I got to find new ways of marketing it, and I have to work on a new cover, which I don't want to do. I don't want to do it. I was working on it a little bit last night in my sketchbook, doing the pre-sketches, getting warmed up for it, like figuring something else out, but I'm also anxious that like whatever I produce is still going to get flagged. Like, one thing AI looks for is flesh tone. If you have too much flesh tone on your cover, AI is going to flag it. So if I just did like a peach cover, there's a good chance that it would be like, no, that's inappropriate. Or too much back skin, bare backs will get you flagged. Like, it's not even the bosoms that I have on the cover of the book that get me in trouble. It's the bare backs that AI is looking at and saying that's inappropriate, or the grasping, cloying position that they're in. Which is ridiculous. It's decent art. It's yeah. It's not like it's a comic style. You'd think I would get a pass, but no. Filler that actually does work, not padding. You're right not to dramatize the entire afternoon. The best filler is social residue, not scenes. Use servants' reactions, Garrett's physical exhaustion, Arista's satisfied possessiveness. Specific suggestion, throwaway line about Garrett's stubble returning faster than expected. Arista making an offhand remark, humans bruise so easily. I like that. Miri being very smug and very loud about how tired Garrett looks. Servants avoiding eye contact with Jocelyn later. Except Jocelyn's not in this. This lets the readers infer Arista's claiming without slowing pacing. Why the shaving incident works perfectly. This is an excellent farce with real teeth. It accomplishes all of the following. Shows Arista's trauma response, blade, throat. Confirms she defaults to lethal action, makes Garrett look ridiculous and vulnerable, introduces the King's laughter, which is false safety, sets up Isolde's moral authority versus Arista's raw power. Most importantly, Arista does not apologize. Arista never apologizes. No, Arista's never sorry for anything that she does. Well, maybe a little bit in the first book for trapping Garrett on the cursed island. Sample Chapter 5 intro, draft you can use or adapt. Here's a clean, tonally balanced opening that leads naturally into the shaving story. By noon the following day, King Gregarious had returned to his throne. I like that. He insisted, loudly, cheerfully, and at length, that he was perfectly well. The court, long practiced in the art of believing its king, accepted this with varying degrees of conviction. Damn it, that's decent. Garrett stood before the dais in his nightgown. One side of his face was freshly shaven, the other remained stubbornly bearded. Shaving foam clung to his jaw, his throat, and one eyebrow, slowly sliding as he spoke. It was meant to be a surprise, Garrett said, tired beyond embarrassment. Arista had never seen me clean-shaven. On the island, I was reduced to a knife, and instead, King Gregarious wheezed between laughs. You introduced her to the court grooming practices. He laughed again, so hard his crown tipped sideways. Queen Isolde did not laugh. Isolde is not the queen, and that's where AI can definitely get confused and fuck shit up. Like, you just put 6 fingers on my story. She regarded Arista with tight composure, lips pressed thin. Your behavior, she said coolly, was improper, excessive, and entirely avoidable. I like certain beats that it's included in this. I definitely do. Miri shrank slightly behind Arista, and you, Isolde added, turning her gaze downward, should have kept your lady informed instead of allowing her imagination to escalate. These are some good points. Garrett opens his mouth to intercede. That was when the king's laughter stopped. From here you can slide directly into the faltering, whispering accusations, Kaylin's arrival with tonal whiplash. Key notes for the climax scene, a few important execution notes so it lands hard. Belane's accusations must sound reasonable, that's what makes it dangerous. Yeah, but at the same time, Belane isn't all that reasonable. Albrecht should not sound hysterical, he should sound measured, he always does. Kayleen's weather comment is the pivot. It reframes Arista from problematic woman to cosmic anomaly. Garrett physically blocking Arista matters. This visually echoes his emotional position. Outro tone critical. Do not let Arista explode yet. She should clench, breathe, let the sky answer for her. Garrett escorting her out isn't romantic. It's containment. That's a big part of their relationship. That's important for later chapters. If you want, we can draft Albrecht's accusation speech, write Kalen's exact phrasing, very important, or tune Belaine so she reads as vengeful but plausible. This chapter is doing real structural work. You're building pressure correctly. Okay, so, yeah, I got other stuff to deal with today, like real life. I can't just stay in the kingdom of Alberin, I want to say, or Borelin, or whatever I named it. I gotta walk the dog, call the wife, call the dentist, set an appointment to get my tooth fixed. A new little crack in one of my front teeth, and when I try to lose the whole damn tooth. Yeah. Okay. So, thank you all for joining me. I'm not sure if you're all still present, or if everybody just went silent at once. I appreciate it. Truly. I am going to dip, start my day, and hopefully I'll be back later and maybe actually start this draft. I think I want to start this draft today, for sure. See how much of it I can actually get through. The last book, I was focusing on trying to draft a chapter a day, with an average of 2,500 words. On this one, I would love it if I could get back into the same clip, but it's thick, it's chewy, a lot more characters to juggle than just the two. Before I was writing everything from Garrett's perspective, and I made everything kind of wistful and poetic, and I wrote fat and trimmed later. I'm trying to do that again here, where I preferred in my edits to cut content away than have to add content. I mean, writing is rewriting, but I don't want to have to be doing additive work during my edit. So I'd rather expand too much, write too much, and then trim it down to make it neat and succinct. So that's it for my morning session. Almost an hour and a half. That's not bad. Like I said, I will be back later. Thank you. I appreciate you all stopping in. And have a wonderful morning or evening or whatever time of day you happen to be in. All right. Peace.